what? Oh God bless. I cannot get enough of Chris Hemsworth and the look on that conch because he's taking it so seriously.
Yes,
God bless him.
That would have brought more people for sure.
That is definitely something that I enjoy that never gets old is the realization of, once you've seen this 3 times, you realize, that's how close Hadley came to his dream. Wonderful piece of editing in this sequence by our editor, Lisa Lassick, who we've worked together with for years.
Many,
and it's
before
just
and since.
Exceptional.
It comes
definitely one of the unsung heroes of Cabin.
Absolutely. Not just in the final product, which I love so much, but the process of just knowing exactly what we're going for, which is tough because you get on a crew, and I had the same thing with Avengers, where Lisa performed the same function of understanding the movie that was being made, which people disregard.
People disregard, and in fairness, our tone is very specific.
Yes.
It is not like other people's tones. And when people ask what's the hardest part of the job, it's without question the tone. And getting 200 people to understand the tone we're going for. Mm-hmm. And I get it, because this tone, especially with this movie, it could easily, 5 degrees to the left, we're an exploitation film, 5 degrees to the right, we're a broad comedy. It isn't clear, and you sort of need people that get it, that get what we're going for here. Yeah. And when you find those people, you clutch them close to your bosom.
Yes.
Judah told me in my dream.
I have 13 people on my bosom.
Yeah.
Like an
Eskimo, like an Inuit woman with all her children.
Right. It's weird. I'm often mistaken for one.
It's the blubber smell.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. I sweat tallow.
Jesus, can we not?
Oh, go on.
Why?
I want to know.
I have found it.
This was fun to shoot, I have to say.
Fun to shoot. I loved writing that diary.
Oh my God, yeah, let's talk about that. So one of the ways, I guess we haven't spoken about how we wrote this, but one of the ways this movie came to be is that you and I were talking, we used to write Buffy scripts very quickly. Not by design, by necessity.
By schedule. It's about to air, you should write it.
That's right. There was a couple episodes, like Conversations with Dead People, we wrote over a weekend, I remember. And there's something that's energizing about that. There's something that's invigorating about you don't have a safety net. You have to do this.
I genuinely believe in this, and I think that people they assume if you take longer, it is better. And I think you get to a Steely Dan place where you can just produce something to death. Late Steely Dan, obviously.
That's right.
Not the early stuff. But, where there is an energy from live performance. There's an energy from improv. There's an energy from writing something with a little bit of a desperation, an extreme amount of tiredness. And even though we didn't have a deadline when we did this for ourselves. We did it in a weekend because we wanted to.
But you're right, because we were both on projects, featured jobs, that actually, in both cases, never came to be, where we had been working on for a year, I think, and we were both lamenting that fact. And so part of this was born out of that frustration. Part of it was saying, you know what, it wouldn't be great if we just wrote something for us. And so we gave ourselves this challenge of we want to lock ourselves in a hotel room and write an entire script and say we're not allowed to leave the hotel room until we have a script. And that was what we did with Cabin. That was the goal, which is a little disingenuous because we did work it out. We did break the story.
We broke the story. We had the cast. We had some pages. And we did polish afterwards. And we did this afterwards, figuring out exactly what's on the board.
That was one of the funnest parts, because it was really just in the middle of shooting, and they were like, well, we start shooting this scene on Monday. You guys need to come up with the board. And we just sat down with a piece of paper and just cranked it out. It's like there's certain parts of this movie that we were just built for. Yeah. And when people ask, did you do any research? No. I
got a lot of that. Did you research horror movies before you made one? It's like, what do you think I was assigned a horror movie?
That's right.
It's a wrestling picture. Wallace Beery. This is no problem.
Life.
No,
this is what we do.
Yeah. I mean, I researched it for 40 years. And
that's right.
We did our homework. We just did it early. But I always have that little sense of apology about writing it so fast. And it's like, well, no. Actually, there's an energy to something.
No, I mean...
Like that doesn't exist in something else.
Believe me, I've worked on projects where I've been the writer on record for 2 years, and it's not better. I've not done better work than the weekend we spent working on this movie. And one of the things that happens is, to get back to the diary, what happened. So we got this hotel room, and it was a 2-floor hotel room, and I was upstairs and you were downstairs, and we would just write each day. And I remember I got to the diary, and we've worked together so long, I sort of know, oh, this is a Joss scene, or this is not. But because I was doing the basement in general,
right?
That's just how it divvied up. But I got to the diary. It was like, hey, Josh, do you want to write the diary? And it was almost like the sentence wasn't out of my mouth yet. It was just like, yeah, I'm on it. And I'm not kidding you. That diary, it took you, I want to say 7 minutes. It was just, you just cranked it out and just handed me the handwritten pages. Like, again, when you talk about what you're built to do, Joss writing, 18th century tortured 12-year-old girl.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you are.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
That's me.
I'm always impressed, but that one definitely humbled me. I saw how quickly you cranked that out.
It makes perfect sense to me. That's the thing when the logic, their logic of pain is grounded. It makes sense. It is their life. And actually, you know what? I got to give up to Chris Carter or whoever wrote the episode of X-Files where they're dealing with Satanists, and the guy says, "This is how I was raised," and that just made my little head explode. I was like, "Oh, you know what? Nobody ever talks about the bad guys' belief systems in that way,"
which is so important to this movie.
Yeah, it's all about belief systems.
It's all about belief systems. It's all about. I don't even view them as good guys and bad guys, because at the end of the day, if you look at this movie, both sides are right. They both have their belief systems, and they're both correct within their belief systems. Mm-hmm. It's weird, but it was incredibly important to me. I remember, for some reason, right before I watched this, right before we shot this, I watched The Breakfast Club again, and as I'm approaching middle age, for the first time, time in my life, though, watching The Breakfast Club, there's the scene where the principal and the janitor are talking about their lives and how these kids aren't going to respect you when you get older. And suddenly I'm empathizing for the first time in my life. I'm not empathizing with the kids anymore. I'm now empathizing with the adults. And I remember thinking, oh, that's what we want here. We want you to understand both sides, so that it's very much a movie about youth and about adulthood. And you want both sides to be represented. I've
never made this connection at all, but it does occur to me that, because I know this from Buffy, but I didn't really hear. My mother was the head of the history department of my school. And I knew all of the teachers, and I knew all of the workings of the school from their point of view and how they dealt with us, and as well as I knew the kids. And this is basically the same thing. They're in the faculty lounge complaining about the kids.
Absolutely. That's right. Yeah, and we talked about this too. Yeah, because my side of that is that I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico, where they make atomic weapons. That's the whole town, is that you have guys like Hadley and Sitterson who just go to their job every day, and they're wonderful, decent people, and yet their job is to create weapons of mass destruction. And you understand, were you faculty or were you, weapons maker, these are all just people.
Yeah.
And they believe what they believe for a reason, and the reason is not ridiculous.
I think that you got a lot of the look from that too, which I love so much.
Yeah, I just
50s, 70s, kind of the retro equipment and the outfits.
I remember I went home while we were in prep for this, and I just did the Los Alamos History Museum tour, which is hilarious in itself. That we even have a history museum, but it is just the guys who made the atomic bomb, and I just pulled all the reference and just handed them to our production designer and said, "Make this. This is what this is."
Oh. You can tell me that.
Now, this is really, I think, shows off the beauty of Vancouver like no other sequence. It really shows the majesty of the Canadian woods. And I do want to take some credit for insisting that we build it inside.
Yeah, again, this was where... God bless Canada, because this is all on stage, and it's amazing. It's amazing the amount of woods that you can get on stage in Canada.
Not also, just in the woods.
our greensman, the guy who is in movie terms, the guy who gets all of these trees and puts them in. His name was Glenn Forrester,
I know.
which delighted you and me. Like we would talk about that, and no one ever look at like, why is that a big deal? And we're like, there's a greensman whose name is Glenn Forrester. There's never been a better name for a green. Still, no one. We're so alone.
Even Glenn.
No,
Come on,
even
people.
Glenn was like, I don't know why this is a big deal. And we were like, that's the greatest name of all time for a greensman. No one. We're so alone.
Yeah, we will always be alone. But I will say that this scene encapsulates the film probably. If you were going to point at one thing that says, what our intent was in terms of what we wanted to say beyond how much fun we were having, it's seeing this scene and then seeing those middle-aged guys watching it. And going from being intrigued and aroused to being both distanced and amused and
sort of feeling the indictment.
Yes,
that takes place not just for the audience but for humanity.
I studied Hitchcock a lot in college. I love Hitchcock, and he was the master of making you complicit in what was going on. But he knew about subtlety, which I've never understood, so I thought we should just say it out loud.
Well, this movie is not about subtle.
No.
I mean, every movie is different, but this is certainly, our goal was not to be sotto voce, as they say.
No. I don't want people to interpret it later and go, oh, I hadn't thought. I want them to go, oh, that's what it is.
Well, what's amazing is that
interpret it later,
people
but I want our intent to be
but this
clear.
is the important
that's the
shot, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the first, obviously the first, nude scene I had to direct, and oh my God, the Catholic in me, I was not. I was easily the most uncomfortable person on set. God bless Anna and Chris, because they were both like, yeah, whatever, let's just do this. And I'm like, oh, how can we protect our actress? How do we do all this? And I was like, Drew, you should watch the series Underbelly that she shot in Australia. She's like, just watch that before we do this, so you understand. I've done things that are way filthier, just so much filthier than what we're about to do. And it was helpful. It did put me at ease. I was like, okay, we're going to
I didn't even know about that. I was out of town. I was doing This American Life.
You conveniently disappeared.
Yeah, sorry.
But it was great. I mean, they're pros,
Yeah.
You forget these people are professionals, and they know this better than I.
And the trick was not to mix the two beyond the level that they should be mixed. The fact that her shirt never opens again as soon as she's in pain,
which remember
we did very specifically on purpose with our fancy glues.
Also, we couldn't figure out how to stick a bear trap in her back without a shirt on.
That's a good point.
But we would have changed it anyway. Don't get me wrong.
We would not have gotten rid of the
certain point,
bear
the violence. You don't want to mix the sexuality and the violence.
No,
to that degree. It made me uncomfortable enough as it is.
I've never really been very comfortable with these. The bad guys, the hero, the monsters are cool. Let's all wait to see how inventively they can kill them. Having said that, I really want an action set of all of the Buckners with their weapons.
With their weapons.
And the bear trap is one of my favorite things ever, because you can swing it.
This we offer in humility and fear.
For everything that we've said before, this is still the next level. They'd say their little prayer.
You can feel it with the audience when you watch this with an audience. This is definitely the signifier that we have definitely taken this.
At this point, no matter how much they say they sacrifice, punish, downstairs, gods, this is the moment where you go, oh, it's not a reality show.
Right. That's right. And it's funny, it's another influence of Los Alamos. Not that we talked a lot about this, but one of the interesting things about Los Alamos is that it has the highest per capita IQ in the United States, because it's all just rocket scientists. It's the only people that go there. But it also has the highest concentration of churches per capita, which is not, those are two stats that don't normally go together. It's a very strange, but you realize because they're making weapons of mass destruction, they need faith.
Yeah.